Hola, everybody. Nance from Star Flurry coming at you. Wow, I've had a week. Please pardon the hair, and I haven't checked anything. It's the evening, so I'm pretty sure there's no cinnamon roll here. And I just cut my nails, so I think I'm good there. Anyways, cheers, everybody. I'm having a little glass of wine. Just coming back from a very busy week, and I'm happy to share it with you. Back to the fake fireplace on the main TV just for now. The real fireplace is here behind me, which I actually had on this morning because frick, it was cold. So, where I live, we have our biggest problem is wildfires during the summer. Sorry, and and while this summer has been not near as bad as many summers prior, um, it was particularly bad these last couple of weeks, and so there's nothing more grateful in anybody in our community's minds than feeling the cold and the cool and the wet and the damp. Yay. But come on, it's September 1st, so it's okay that I'm a little not ready for this. I've spent a very long time telling pretty much everybody I know that I'm not interested in summer ending this year. It's just been really fun for me this year. I've really, I explained in other videos, it's just kind of coming out of whatever. It's not that I was depressed, I was just measured, I think is probably the best word to describe it for the last 4 years, ever since my dad died. Just a very measured kind of life, just making sure everything is kind of copacetic and normal and. But this year was kind of like, well, what the hell? Let's have some fun. And so, and I haven't really been interested in doing that again. Not depression wise, just kind of just measured is I guess the best word I can use. Anyways. So, I just got back from Washington State International Kite Festival that is held, pardon me, down in Long Beach the full third week in August every year. So if you want to mark your calendars, do so now. Full third week. So if there's like a Monday is the first, I'm guessing here, but if the Monday or Tuesday is the first or second, don't count that week. 1, 2, 3. Count the following week, and then 2 more after. Third full week in August every year. And it's a hoot. People should come to that. It's so much fun. It's a beautiful beach. Um, you know, just I can't recommend it more highly. Anyways, a bunch of us have been getting together down there for years. And my brother and I have basically spent many a childhood down there as well. My parents loved that place. They had friends who had a place down there. I don't remember ever not being there during the summer. So it holds a very special place in both my brother and mine's hearts. And to get together with a group of kite flyers who kind of managed. So we've been together for a really long time. I won't go into the whole story, but it's just kite flying, single line fighter kite flying. Just Google fighter kites on YouTube and you'll see it, see what they do, which is far different than kind of sport kite, dual line, delta flying, and revolutions and all that. It's very different. Um, Anyways, so that's what they do, and they were and are, but were a very tight group many years ago, and Scott and I being kind of kite goer, kite watch, what am I trying to say? Kite festival goers with my parents and this and that. Somewhere along the way, we kindled our love of that, and he got into the fighter kite stuff, and then I got into helping one of the people in the kite fighter thing because there's a sport attached to it, and that sport requires judges and scorekeepers, and so I was trained by their main scorekeeper to take over for her because she was getting ready to be done with cold beaches, but not really. She's just ready to kind of enjoy it rather than working. And anyway, so I became that for the group, and then through a long period of time of just weirdness of health issues and uh, people moving and people retiring and people getting married and people getting divorced and the kite festival was kind of dwindling because social media and iPhones and World of Warcraft had taken over, so kids weren't as interested, parents weren't as interested in bringing their kids down to that kind of stuff. It just kind of it just kind of started to dwindle a little bit, which is really sad. But that just happens. We all have lives, and you move on. But then and then COVID, and suddenly these kind of disparate group of kite flyers, fighter kite flyers. I'm speaking from my perspective. I am not. I am part of that group, but I'm not a flyer in that group. So I can't speak specifically to how it all came together. But somewhere along the way, they during COVID they decided to kind of reconnect, which I think a lot of people did, which is so cool. And they started doing Zoom meetings. I think it was every other week, just to talk about. It's a very basically what they do. They never buy their kites. They make all their kites, and it's very kind of precise, and it has all to do with precision and quality of product and quality of adhesives and just whatever it takes to put these things. They are so simple in their look, but they are so technical in the creative process of how they're made and the aerodynamics and all that. So I mean, right down to the line that you use to fly the thing, and anyways, it's very technical, which is like, I built a kite once. I did a workshop with a friend of mine who is a kite builder, and I built my kite and it barely flew. And I really enjoyed it, and I realized very quickly that I am just not patient enough to do that. My brother, on the other hand, is a scientist. He's a geologist. He's geophysicist. So he enjoys the precision and all of that stuff. So I'm just not that person. I'm the person who wrangles everybody. I'm a wrangler. When we went or this last week when we were doing our thing, we had no formal plans to have any kind of competitions, and then one of the new members of the group kind of said, I'm a little disappointed that you're not having an actual competition. And of course the entire group was like, well, we can have a competition, no problem. Nancy, are you on board? Can you do the sparking? And I said, yes, I need a pen and a piece of paper and I'm good to go. And so we put together a competition for the following day, and it was a hoot. And it was so much fun. And I'm so glad, his name is Max, I'm so glad Max recommended that, or expressed his disappointment in not having a competition, because he was ready to go, and it ends up he came in second, so good for you. And we ended up, we had come up with some name for it that night over several beers about what it was going to be called, and then nobody could remember it the next day. So I think it was my brother who said, let's call it Circus Maximus. And everybody agreed that was the perfect name. So it was the inaugural competition of the Circus Maximus. But it was great fun, and great joy was had by everyone. And the weather semi-cooperated. The one thing about fighter kites is you build kites to fly in any wind. Well, I think it's the same with any kite, but fighter kites specifically, because they're so little. I mean, really, they're just, they're little as far as kites go, and are very affected by the wind. And of course, as everybody, used to be flying anything. The competition happens no matter what. And then, of course, as everybody just, it seems a little cold out there, a little wet, a little damp. It's hard to fly in the damp on the beach because the sand sticks to your kite. But, those are other issues. But the one situation at the kite festival was on the one day they did a showcase for the on field A, which is the main field for all the spectators. Was the winds were like 15 to 20 knots, I think. I might be exaggerating, but it was huge wind. It was just crazy. It is very difficult to fly any kite in that kind of wind, especially one that is single line maneuverable, but they just don't function well in that kind of high wind. They're best at, 6 to 8. And so when it's double that, that can be difficult. But several other flyers managed quite well, and that was great. But we weren't able to do a showcase in the way that we wanted to do. So I'm going on and on about this like you care. So I'll stop. Anyways, that was my week, and now it's taken 4 days to just recover because oh my god, it was a busy week, a lot of socializing, which I'm not great at. I mean, I'm good at it when I'm doing it, but yeah, my battery goes down really fast. So I got home, and it took, for those who don't know, I'm not trying to talk about it very often, but I do have a camper van that I enjoy, and so I took that with me, and that was really fun. I didn't camp the whole time, and I'll tell that story another day, but I didn't camp the whole time, which turned out to be a great thing. Um, well, I guess I can tell now. I was tempted to, not tempted, what's the word I'm looking for? I wasn't sure I was brave enough to camp on my own. I mean, just had a series of really shitty experiences. I don't mean with people, just being uncomfortable and not happy and not comfortable. Basically, not being comfortable, not feeling safe. And it had nothing to do with people next to me being weird. It had nothing to do with me having anybody knock at my door. I literally have never had a bad experience with anybody at a campsite ever, except in here. Imagination runs wild. So I just felt like I was just maybe not cut out for that kind of thing. And then somewhere along the way, I just changed my mind. But before that, I was thinking, if I sell my camper is named Meru. I'll explain that story down the road as well. But her name is Meru, and I was like, I may sell her. So when I decided that that might be a situation, I ended up making a secondary reservation down at the beach in case I didn't have the camper. I'd made a camping reservation, but I had not made but that was based on having the camper. So I made a double booked myself just in case, because I figured I had some time to cancel if I wanted to. And then I just never canceled. But I didn't sell Meru either. I decided, well, maybe she's not so bad. Maybe I could figure this out. And what I found out was that really camping in sites that are I don't want to say regulated, but managed, that you have to pay for. I mean, I was spending a lot of time at free camping sites, which is all great and wonderful, but they're not managed well. First come, first serve. 1,000 Trails, I'm calling you out. That sucks. When you pay a chunk of change to camp free at these places, and then you just never know what you're going to get. You have to get there at 11. First of all, you don't know what you're going to get. That's number one. Then it's first come, first serve, so you always get the shittiest camping sites if you drive most of the day. And then you just never know who you're living next to. And honestly, there's a lot of those. I don't know if it's just 1,000 Trails or maybe it's just my impression, but a lot of those places have campers that aren't camping; they're living there, and that's a very different situation. And again, not that I ever had an issue in any one of those camps, but I didn't like driving in at, let's say, 3 in the afternoon, which I think is a reasonable time, and having to hunt for a camping spot. That's just not. That sucks. So working with camping companies that, number one, have like hardly any spots, harvest hosts for number one, or a lot of the KOAs, call them out, have pre-assigned spots. Now I've got to give 1,000 Trails. They have an upper tier if you want to be a member, it costs you a fucking fortune. Excuse my French, but just a lay person coming in one or two nights, it's not as expensive. But it's expensive. I mean, it's not a hotel room, but it's much higher than free. But then again, you have that built-in safety factor. And I think the thing was, I just wasn't. I wasn't getting it, and then I finally kind of got it. That look, when you're camping, pay for your spot. It's okay to pay for your spot. I mean, it's nothing. It's like $65, but it generally keeps the riffraff out, and that makes me feel safer. So, of course, I empower myself with a zillion different kind of tools and situational things in place that the cool thing about having a problem in a camper is you could just make sure you always know where your keys are. You can always drive away, and if you have to run over somebody in the process, then that's how it works. I don't mean just anybody. I mean the perpetrator, whoever might be giving you grief, but you know what I'm saying. So anyways, so I was telling that story because I was double booked. And so our group of flyers are always kind of, you fly during the day and then they all disappear to their various, campsites or hotels or wherever, and they go out to dinner and do whatever they do. And this time what is this? This feels like out of whack. This time we had a central place to go, which was my place, which was right between the two major beach access roads. It was just a perfect location, and it was big enough. It had a gas fireplace. It had a little kitchen. It had a bathroom. It was just a one bedroom. It had a beautiful outdoor area with a hot tub and a sauna. Oh my God. But nobody ever used it. We just kind of, we just had the weather been hotter or nicer, we would have probably been outside. And there was also a huge burn ban on. So had that not been happening, we would have surely had some kind of fire. But we couldn't do any of that. So we all stayed in. But the fact that we had just a gathering spot after the kite flying was huge. And we all gathered the first night. And then the second night, I asked my brother, I said, are we doing this again? He goes, no, let's take a night off. We're fine. And then, one by one, people come, we're at your place, right? And I'm like, sure. And so for the whole time, everybody came over every night. And it was so cool. I can't even tell you how cool it was that we just had a spot. And then the other thing was, I always get a little nervous at being in strange Airbnbs by myself. I don't do it often, but I do it enough, where it's a little nerve-wracking. And what was cool is one of our flyers has a little one of those short yellow buses that he has converted into kind of a travel bus for when he comes down to things like this and other excursions of kite flying at the beach or any other places. And it's the cutest frickin' bus ever. He has its name is Buttercup, and he always struggles. Well, I don't know if he struggles, but it's always hard for him to. Long Beach, Washington is very hardcore, as they should be, about letting people camp with campers or buses or anything else on their streets at night. It's like, no, we're not a camping RV park. We're just not. So no, and you'll get a hefty ticket if you do. So he always kind of struggled to find a spot where he could lay low and hang out at the end of the night. And so this place I reserved had this huge parking pad in front. So there was plenty of room for my camper, plenty of room for his bus. So he spent every night, even though I said, you're welcome to, do you want me to leave my door unlocked? You can use the bathroom. And he's like, no, I'm self-contained. I'll just use your parking pad if that's okay with you. And I said, absolutely. So it was like I had this guardian angel right in front of my building or little house every single night. And that was so comforting. It just made my experience there so much better than it ever could have been. So thank you, Dee, for doing that. I think it helped you out, but it also helped me out. And you have no idea how much it helped me out. So thank you. Love you, dear. So there's that. Anyways, so that's my stories for now. Okay, so what I'm going to do, and this is going to happen in the next couple of days, is I have to do some research to see if it should be a tag or not. But what I want to do is fall decks that aren't Halloween related. So in other words, to me, true fall decks, things that start to come in during the fall season, but are not totally Halloween related, because I know that a lot of the witchy folk out there are just so excited that we're just even getting close to fall and start pulling out the fall stuff, the witchy, what do they call it? It used to be called Halloween. What do they call it now? The spooky season, whatever. Um, and I was thinking, I have spooky season decks. I do. But there's a whole lot of decks I have that are truly just fall oriented. And I think I want to do a video on those. Pardon me. So that's my plan. And they may be, it may be most, I realize as I gather, and I have a bunch. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. At this point, I have 11 decks that I want to bring up as fall decks that are not spooky season decks. These are not Halloween related decks. These are just fall season decks. And so that's the thing I'm going to do. But I will be honest with you, I'm already 20 minutes in and I don't have time to even start. So I'm not going to do that. So this is just a teaser, a trailer, if you will. I have the cutest bags ever. Everybody knows what this one is. So, a lot of fun decks to bring to you. I'm not going to show all these decks off in their entirety, of course, because we wouldn't have time. But I will show a fair amount of them. And some of them are pretty common and some of them aren't. And so that's what's going to make this really fun. So anyways, that's what I've been up to the last few weeks. I had a blast. I hope you are all well and weathering whatever storms may be coming your way. God bless everyone in Florida and of course Maui, one of our flyers. In fact, a featured flyer at the Washington State International Kite Festival had a very successful. Well, it used to be a kite store, and then times changed. It became more of a toy store in Maui, in downtown Lahaina, and he lost everything. Him and his wife, his family, been doing this for 40 some years. The three or four of the employees lost their homes, completely burned down. This guy's house actually survived, so we were so thankful for that. But he came. I mean, he had done a lot of planning in this kite festival. We were just sure that obviously he had other things to attend to at his home. But he came for a few days. He didn't stay for the whole thing, but he came for a few days, and it was so good to see him. It was so very sad to hear his tales of what had gone on during that whole thing. It's just, anyways. So prayers to all of them and Florida and anybody else, struggling with their day to day. It's just, life is hard. So that's it from here. Love to you all. Star and Flurry, Nance at Star and Flurry out. Thanks, everybody.